and vent really quick. I came across this video of this guy talking about Greek fraternities and sororities and the demonic rituals, right? And so, before I even went further into listening to the video, which I'm very excited to complete watching, I went into this immediate praise and worship with the divine and just gratitude and just thanking God because it's been coming up like in a little, I guess I can say like little omens, but not really. Little, let's say signs and stuff like that. And so the sorority that I was in, there's just been emphasis on drawing it to my attention like the past month. And like someone that I trained with found out they were an AKA. We had a brief conversation about it, which, I informed them that I did denounce the organization. We didn't go into any further detail out of that. So during my time frame, when I was charged by God to speak the truth and transparency on my observations, my intuitive observations, my experiences from being a part of the sorority, that was back in like 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, right? So I joined the sorority in I want to say 2016, November 2016. So yeah, I remember going into it, I was very neutral. Most of the people that went into it were clicked up. I'm just going to do a quick run through of the story. But, at this time, I was very much so walking in like what I've grown to understand holiness and Christianity, to be as in full embodiment. Like at that time, I by choice was only wearing like mostly dresses, skirts by choice. I was carrying myself a certain type of way. Not saying that you have to just wear, but the point is, I was in a very mentally sanctified place when I went into this. And so when I went into it, I remember just having a lot of anxiety around it. But at the same time, my whole intentions for going into it in the first place is, to me, it was always promoted to me by a significant family member that, hey, like, this is, really good to have on your portfolio and, yada, yada, yada. Basically, they glamorized it, saying or regurgitating all the reasons that most people regurgitate, or most people try to convince others that, hey, like this is something that you should be a part of. So I'm already established on campus, as far as my positions and titles, having my hand in a few pots. And so I had the requirements. I had the money, I had the GPA, I had all of that, right? And so I was able to successfully join the sorority. And it's like literally, even though I felt convinced about the decision to do it, it's like right into like about to finalize, like just going into it, I had all this anxiety, but I went ahead and did it anyway. I just counted it towards, well, this is something that's new to me, so maybe that's why I feel that way. So I'm in this little, I forgot what it's called, but you kind of go through like a trial type of phase with them and a series of rituals and all of this stuff when you're having to wear a lot of black and white. So boom, fast forward to the day that we crossed. It was a two-part ceremony. There was a ceremony with the grand chapter and all of these other sorority chapters with this huge all-white event type of thing where your family and friends, can come there if specifically invited, that type of thing. And then after that, we had the crossing ceremony on campus, in front of our fellow like co-scholars, I guess. So fast forward. Yeah, there was some things that unraveled, and during this particular ritual that we had before all of that. So we're in this room, and there's the grand chapter. They're wearing all white, and they're all standing basically against the wall. We're in a classroom on campus. So they're outlining the entire wall, like the entire room. So they're just circled around us, but it was more so like a square, but they were circled around us. A lot of these women are, older in age and stuff. And then you have us 12, specifically the number 12 young women. We're wearing all black while they are wearing all white. And there's this altar before us, a Bible open to a specific page, another book that they had up there, and also like this notebook where we had to sign our name after repeating repeating a particular, let's just say an arrangement of words that they put together, which also included particular scriptures. And they had us read this in a specific order. You also had to do this while on your knees at the altar. So we were bowed down on pillows at this altar in this dark room where it's only candlelit. And mind you, oh my God, I'm so glad I thought about that. So boom, you do that. You sign your name after read this and basically pledge yourself to this entity, this principality, because that's what you're actually doing. And once you get up to return back to your place in line, and the reason why I say your place in line, the reason why, we say our line sisters, our line, da 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 da, because you're arranged, it's supposed to be based on your height. That's why you have the head and then the tail type shit. But, it was a little wonky. Ours was a little wonky for the simple fact that you had some people who wore heels and some people who didn't wear heels when they were, putting the lineup together. But anyway, so when you go back to your place, your number in line, so I was number 5. Ironic, right? The number of change. So, and I was actually supposed to be, I think either the third or the fourth. I think I was supposed to be the third by accurate height, but I ended up being the fifth. The yeah. So boom. When you go back to your placement in line, that candle that they originally gave you that was unlit, now the candle becomes lit. Now it's like a automated or whatever, a battery operated candle, like a flame and everything. Almost, I'm trying to remember, like, was it a tea light or the kind of long looking candles, more medieval looking candles, but it was still battery operated. But they turn your flame on after you prayed to this principality, read these words, signed your name in this book. I guess this book with other AKAs. Like, oh my God, it's so weird. And I remember, the things that I experienced, as, God honestly just using me, because that's really what it was. God was using me to really see what it really was about, and potentially help other people before they even cross that line. Because honestly, not everybody is strong enough to come out of it. So, boom, I was one of those people that fortunately was strong enough to come out of it. So, God put me on assignment, which most of the time I'm on assignment. So, boom. After that, I definitely experienced like some weird instances that, made me raise an eyebrow. Like, when they were reading our introductions that we put together to have read aloud by the president of the grand chapter, when she read over, because I included a lot of spiritual reference in my introduction, like honestly, like, just really talking about how immersed I am into God and how, I attribute a lot of how I am, who I am, and my achievements to God. And even included one of my favorite scriptures, I think. And she intentionally butchered the scripture. She intentionally butchered my intro, like, and specifically over parts and areas of the intro that discuss the Most High God. So that was something notable that was brought to my attention. It was also something that I was immediately offended by. Like, internally, like, spiritually, I felt offended, right? So boom, she kind of playfully laughs it off and everything, and that's that. So fast forward, there's a situation where other line sisters are being kind of awkward with me, the ones that are clicked up, and I was neutral for the most part with everybody, but as time went on, there was just maybe even that neutrality, like, just became triggering. Who knows, you know? Or it could also just be whatever spirit conjured, within us as a result of signing ourselves over to this principality, like, and it conjuring, rising itself into these beings who are not as, spiritually strong. So when we went to our regional conference, prior to that, so boom, it was the fall whenever we joined. So y'all know after, during the fall, like around Christmas and shit, like you have Christmas break at school. So we on Christmas break, and I had this little job, like this little simple job that I would work, that I worked back home because I was only gonna be there for a month. But I was able to do that. So while I was doing that, this one particular week, I break my phone, and the next couple of days after that, I got into a car accident. And it was my first brand new car. My dad bought it for me because we made a bet, or, whatever, with my GPA. And, because my GPA was, significantly high or whatever, he gifted me a brand new car. So boom, a car that some of my line sisters also rode in and was making like a lot of compliments, and and which is cool or whatever in the moment, but at the same time, it's like you got to watch out for stuff like that. So got in a car accident. I have no way to communicate with anybody, right, in the sorority. So people are booking their rooms for the regional conference at the Marriott, and I have no knowledge of this going on. So by the time I was able to reconnect, most of the hotel is booked because it's a regional conference, right? It's AKAs from all over the region. And but I have a godmother who's a professor at a university in Georgia, and I reached out to her about it, and she was like, "Oh, I can pull some strings, make that happen for you. Just let me know." So boom, that's what I was gonna do. I mentioned it to my advisor, the grand advisor, and she insisted that, oh no, I prefer that you guys stay together. I believe such and such, they have room available. You should reach out to them and see if you can stay with them. So I did that, just wanting to respect, her desires or whatever as the advisor. By then we're still pretty much all fresh into it. We had crossed like in November, I think. And then, yeah, so boom. November is crazy. Yeah, it was November. Um, Crossed in November, wrecked my car in December. Ain't that crazy? Not only wrecked my car in December, I wrecked into a cemetery shortly after crossing. So These girls, they turn out to be haters. The very female that she insisted that I room with turned out to be a hater or whatever. And she was like just one of those people that tried too hard. So they try to make a really big deal. They try to create this false narrative, make it seem like, oh, I couldn't afford it or I couldn't do it, da 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 da. That I was dodging meeting with them because I had other obligations, which I actually did, and they had nothing else. They did nothing else besides just going to class and being an AKA. That's it. You feel me? I was actually doing shit before I became an AKA, so niggas had to move around my schedule type shit. So anyway, they created this group chat, talking about me or whatever. That blew up. We go to the hotel. I decided to just take my godmother's offer, because who about to tolerate that? You feel me? So boom, we go there, and us specifically, the girls whom the grand advisor wanted me to room with, both of our rooms are not available yet while at the Marriott, while all the other girls' rooms are. And so boom, my mother books a room for me right across from the Marriott at the next best hotel or whatever. So boom, but they weren't able to do that. Now these are the same girls created this group chat, trying to clown me, saying I don't got this, I can't do that. So boom, I was like, I mean, y'all can stay with me, like y'all want to, because my mom had rented me like kind of like a presidential suite. So boom, that happened. Fast forward, I was getting like, you know, I was getting some different attention. Like there was this very handsome guy that worked there, that they all were looking at, but he approached me directly out of the group, And at the time, like I definitely won't really like, whatever. But I found out that he was on his way to become a mason. Like he wanted to become a mason. That's why he was there. That's why he did that work. So yeah, it's like he was trying to get certain like secrets or information and stuff out of me too, like about it was strange. It was a strange encounter, but there were situations where the girls intentionally left me out in regards to letting me know when we were going somewhere, and but he helped me get to and fro because he worked at the hotel, so he basically like kind of chauffeured me, sponsored me, whatever. So yeah, fast forward. Um, fast forward. I'm ultimately am faced with a decision, a question from the divine, like are you willing to walk away from this for me? And I was like, of course, And at that time, I was being guided to do all this deep research, like about it. And the shit that I was seeing with the eyes that I have is like, okay, this makes sense. And this is why I felt like this, why I thought this, yada, yada, yada. So I denounced the sorority. And man, this lady begged me, the grand advisor begged me. Like I had to block her number. I had to block her. She was begging me to stay in the sorority. And even after I told her, like, it's a divinely guided decision. I feel like God, you know, I believe God, asked me to remove myself from this. And she, basically deflected from what I was saying as if that held no weight, So that's just things that you have to pay attention to. I'm like, lady, I'm like convicted by God. Like, what do you mean? And you're trying to get me to rebel against that, you know. So yeah, that's just a little brief, story, but I just experienced some things after that followed after that, a humiliation ritual and everything. Like I, I experienced some things almost like them trying to punish me for denouncing the sorority, right? So I went through those trials. You get what I'm saying? And who knows? Like, there's even been times like I thought about how long, Can they really have some type of effect? And at the end of the day, though, when we talk about prayer and doing spiritual maintenance, spiritual work, whatever, with dealing with warfare, you have to be very detailed with the things that we're dealing with, because we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, rulers of the darkness, and spiritual wickedness in high places. Ephesians, that has always been my favorite scripture. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, rulers of the darkness, and spiritual wickedness in high places. And it's always been one of my favorite, because God gave me like a deep understanding of the scripture. And it just made things make so much more sense around me. And so I'm looking at this like this is literally what God was talking about. A principality. When you think about a principle, right? Think about somebody that, is bigger, something bigger, right? A principality. For example, the police force, that's a principality. That's an example of that. So I had this conscious understanding that this is what like this is what God is talking about. I feel it. I sense it. And the things that they're trying to twist together and have us do, like, to me, it was so obvious. And like I said, the anxiety, I would feel an immediate anxiety. Like, boom, there was a few girls in my group that couldn't sing. Like, we just naturally could sing. And when I say the grand chapter took full advantage of that, now they want us to sing at all these, like every time we have a function, they want us to sing and shit. Like, it's crazy. Now, that's cool until it's not. And when it's not, is when you have us singing songs like I give myself away so you can use me. Singing to AKA a principality, a deity, whatever. Like, it's like, that, I don't feel comfortable singing this. Like, and what's so crazy, y'all, this is not a coincidence. They used to try to get me to lead the fucking song. They wanted me to lead these fucking songs. Of all people. Like, could you imagine? Boom. It was recognized that I was the neutral person. Out of everybody there, I was cool with everybody. Everybody, for the most part, was clicked up. Okay. Second, they named me critically acclaimed. And when she explained why they named me that, or just trying to give me an understanding of what they mean by it, they were like, "Have you ever heard of the critically acclaimed Muhammad Ali?" Or, like da 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 da. And I mean, like, she was just hyping it up, bigging it up, in front of these girls. And so when I turned around to go sit down, I'm just met with all this evil eye ass energy. So I'm not. Somebody else got that in that, but yeah. So that had happened, and I just made the connection. Like, no, like, I should not be. Like, we're not singing this to God. They're not directing this to the Most High. Like, it don't feel like it. It don't seem like it. Like, so it has to be, because if not, hold on 1 second. It's crazy how somebody came and knocked at the door while I was saying that. So that's confirmation. It's undeniable confirmation at that. So yeah, there was just a lot of wording that will always catch my ear, like it just hit my ear a different kind of way, like my spiritual ears, and I will sit and soak in that and reflect on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and pick it apart, like, and just really like talk amongst myself with God, like, like even to the point of, referring to scriptures, having scriptures being brought to mind for me to like reflect on in regards to something that, is happening. So yeah, it's crazy how in so many different spaces I've experienced, people trying to make me the odd one out, or isolate me, or whatever, or a group turning against me. Now I say that to say, so boom, going back to when we're at the hotel for the regional conference. So we stay at, the hotel across the street, those girls stay with me. We go back to the Marriott the following morning because our rooms are available. Now I'm supposed to have a king size bed, like king room, deluxe, but they had mixed my room up with somebody else, and so I ended up with a room that had two double beds or something like that, or two queens. And there was some girls who were rooming together. They ended up with just one bed. So I remember, when we all was like trying to get together, so we could go, to an event as, a sorority, as a group, so to speak. Um, I'm sorry, this stuff drawing my attention. But yeah, I remember being in the room with them while they were, still, getting themselves together for us to leave. Y'all, it was like at least four of them in one room. Now, listen to this arrogance, bro. I literally offered to them, I said, hey, they mistakenly gave me, a room with two queens. I was supposed to get a king, but shit, I have a whole extra bed if any of y'all want to come in there and share the room with me instead of all y'all just being, bundled up in this one room. They were so arrogant that they denied the offer. That's how arrogant they were. Now these are the same motherfuckers who talked about me. You feel me? Because of what some shit looked like or appeared like, and not even that. Probably just some shit that they hoped for me, but that just wasn't the case. So yeah, um, it was just little things like that too, that was going on. Um, And I remember with them like trying to isolate me out and stuff. I remember even like crying to my mom about it, like, yo, like I'm not even being mean to these girls. Like I'm not doing anything to them. Like I'm being, cause mind you, like I'm in like a very Christian girl phase at the time. And I'm like, Mom, I'm not even doing anything to these girls. Like, and they're being mean to me. Like, they left me out. They created a group chat, and they're not telling me, like, what time we're headed out together when that's what the grand advisor said, blah, 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 right? And I snapped out of that shit, though. I snapped out of it shortly after. Because things were still working out in my favor on some exclusive shit. Like I said, I had this whole, like, handsome ass dude like literally walk me in a suit at that, chauffeur me like to these places on some exclusive shit. You feel me? So, and I was really like a real standout as well. So it's okay. It was okay. But when I'm telling you, I've watched these people change, like, because you have a certain amount of time when you get to spend time with these girls. It's like a before things become official. There's a time frame you spend together that's a part of the selection process, in a way, and the preparation. So, and doing certain rituals and stuff. So you have that phase when you get to experience them, and then after that, is when you cross, you do the ceremonies and stuff, like, or the official ceremony. After that ceremony, after they were given these names, oh, excuse me, after they were given these names, it's like I've watched, I just feel like it kind of definitely shifted their energy, right? Because words are spells. Because even with me being named critically acclaimed at the time, it's like, it's not okay, the Most High told me that they don't even know why they're naming me critically acclaimed. Is actually something much bigger and beyond the sorority. The reason why they're associating that name with me. So, that was interesting, or whatever. But I said all this to say that I did a video, like, I was so passionate about exposing this shit. And I mean, I caught some type of wave, like, shoot, call it the Holy Ghost. I caught some type of wave, bro, and I just was so passionate about exposing it. Like, and I still have the videos, like, I still have them posted. I think I'm gonna actually go back and listen to them because it's been years since I've listened to them. But yeah, yeah. And it was I want to say it was a couple years later when I did a video, like, since leaving, because I had locks. My locks were, yeah, they're a pretty decent length. So it had to be a couple years for sure. My first set of locks. And I had braids when I crossed. So, yeah. But realistically, though, what does God say to us about oaths? You know what I'm saying? And vows and shit like that. Like, that's literally what it is. That's literally what it is. That's what you're doing. You're making an oath, right? And so, people get so defensive when you talk about sororities and fraternities, but it's like, bruh, like, and y'all, this would even be people who grew up in the church, who are Christian, da 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 da. And they would sit there and make excuses and defend fraternities and sororities because of what it looks like or the clout that come with it or whatever. Like, they be more pressed about the clout that come with it more than anything else. Like, so y'all gonna disregard the fact that God literally talks about this in the Bible. Like, y'all gonna disregard how so many people have been changed, so many people have been murdered, so many people have been like, I'm just saying, bro. Like, the homosexual activity that be going on, like, against people's will, like the harassment, the hazing, like, and hazing can show itself in many different forms. Like, we're talking about a principality. We're talking about, okay, what you see in the flesh is one thing, but there's something in the unseen governing that vehicle, governing that flesh, governing those people, those bodies. There's something spiritual governing that, period. So when you think about it like that, it's like, okay, it's one thing to have certain mental blocks, visual blocks, in the flesh because it's your flesh, that's just like you, living a horrible or toxic lifestyle and, you getting cancer, you getting a disease type shit. You know, that's some fleshy ass shit. That's some in your flesh shit. You know, and I just feel like, you know, when it comes to your spirit, it's kind of like your breath as well. Like your breath, like it's just something that you do. You can't see it. You feel me? Like is a very significant factor to why your body is even able to be active and, you know, proactive and alive, period. You know, but it's a phenomena like breath itself, and that's how spirit is, or the spirit realm of things. So let's just say in the spirit though, you feel, you sense things more, you know. And of course, that gets diminished, unfortunately, or dormant for several people, you know, due to their lack of not really investing in their spirit man, you know. So it's like it's never supposed to be a case where your flesh overrides your spirit, but that's the case for a lot of people. So, but yeah, no, like, what? An altar? Rituals? I have to bow down. Why do God said don't bow to any other? That's crazy. I'm like, so y'all gonna claim Christianity? Y'all gonna claim y'all believe in God? Y'all believe in the Bible? Y'all gonna conveniently pick certain scriptures that you want to use to justify certain narratives, but you're gonna disregard other scriptures that are obviously there and addressing things that you are, oh my God, it's just it's wild to me. It's dark. Like, man, being in that place, surrounded by all those energy fields. If I'm anything, I'm observant, bro. Like, I feel like I will always have that little girl in me, like the little girl of me, of my observation. And my curiosity goes a little bit deeper. My curiosity is on some like craving understanding, craving to unpack what I see before my eyes. That's how my curiosity goes more than anything else. Not, oh, let me, you know, get in this and find out that way. No, there are some things you will experience firsthand. Yes, there are other things you do not have to. You do not have to. You don't. You don't have to experience it firsthand to gather the understanding of whatever that source of information is. Hence, observation, analysis, right? And so it was just crazy to witness all the different groups. And now that I'm thinking about it, when you think about the different, damn, what is it called? I can't even remember what ours are called. Or do I? Upsilon Delta. Upsilon Delta. That was the name of our line. And it was 12 of us. So I feel like it's one thing to be under the umbrella principality of the sorority itself. It's another thing to have certain energies be conjured and casted upon different groups within or underneath that umbrella when you think about it. And that's what the fuck I'm doing. I'm thinking about it. And now that I think about it, it's like, yo, that's kind of creepy because there was group personalities. Like, I really hope that makes sense. There were group personalities. Like, as I'm walking through, you know, with mine, and I'm just observing my surroundings, I'm looking at all the different groups. And we all are, right? But that don't mean we are all looking at it, you know, through the same intention and through our actual spiritual eyes, right? You know, again, you have your flesh eyes, you have your spiritual eyes. My flesh eyes may be saying, oh, they're, this person is pretty. They're so pretty. Da, 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 da. Oh, I like how they did that. Oh, I like what they got on. Oh, cool. Oh my God. Right? That's my flesh viewpoint. My spiritual eyes, though, is really looking at body language, is looking at auric energy, is looking at interactions with one another amongst the group, is studying all of these other things, is paying attention to how people are looking at me, and and processing in what way, what else is within that frequency of their viewpoint of them viewing me, so what is wrong with you? I'm talking to Charlie. But anyway, so yeah, man, like there was just some obvious things that I just ah I'm so thankful for God, bro, because I'm saying shit that, like, who can you talk to about this? Who can you say this to without them, like, trying to make it seem like you on some weird shit? But it's like, bruh, shit is weird. Like, shit is weird, bro. Shit is weird. So yeah, when shit, ooh, there was a moment where when we were having dinner, I want to say there was somebody next to me. There was somebody next to me. Their food or their chicken or something wasn't all the way cooked, like it was raw, and they had already ate out of it, and it was bloody. I was like, what the fuck kind of damn, what the fuck kind of sinister like shit they got going on, bro? Like that shit was wild. So there was that, and I felt something very like discomforting about the regional director and the president. Um, I did, especially the regional director. Definitely, there was something off-putting about her. Um, and she kind of creeped me out. I'm not gonna hold you. She kind of creeped me out for sure. So yeah, it's just I could not be amongst these people and not pay attention to any of the fucking words spoken, bro. I just could not. Like, I was just on guard. I was on alert. Like, I was paying attention to everything being spoken. Okay? Like, like I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it. I just felt like I needed to be on guard spiritually of my soul, bro. Like, it's crazy, dog. That's why, like, even when I felt guided to walk away from it, I wasn't like completely resistant. I was more so willing than resistant. Okay, so I don't know, because it was like escaping. I was escaping something, literally. But I did. There were times I wondered if certain things that was playing out in my life, if it had anything to do with the fact that I did denounce them. Yeah. So by the time I joined, there had been 999 um, chartered sorority. What would you call it? Damn. Chartered lines, I guess. So we were the 1000th chapter. Bro, this shit cannot be. Yeah, the way God be dealing with me with these numbers and words, bro. Like, it's like he makes it undeniable. Like, bro, mysterious, yes, because that's God's nature, but he makes it undeniable. Like, and every time it still blow your mind, literally. It don't matter how many hundreds, millions of times God has like gave you signs and synchronicities, like it still blow your mind. It never gets old. It never gets old. And what's crazy, even as often as he does it, we still find ourselves in spaces where we're like, shit, the reason why he does it so much is because we need it. Like, it's crazy how we get drained, or we step into energies where, you know, those things like become like silent to us, you know, and we're ruminating, you know, we're spiraling downward. It's like God does that to pull us back up and call us to. That's, I said what I said on purpose for a reason. God damn, I was trying to say cause. He said to call us back up that spiral. You get what I'm saying? So all praise is due to the Most High, bro. Shout out to you, Most High. Because it is crazy out here if you're not paying attention. Like, and people, I don't care. I would drill this shit, bro. I'm gonna always address vanity, bro, because that shit is overtaking a lot of people. And I get it. I see why. I see how. Like, it's one thing to enjoy luxury, you know, or the finer things in life, of course. But with vanity, it's like it's an illusion. It's like you seemingly get that, but it's one thing to get that energy on a upward spiral. It's another thing to get that energy on a downward spiral. So it's like they both kind of meet at the middle. You feel me? But you have some people who spiral downward, you know? You know, they fall out of balance. So yeah. But yeah, it's I got this message about waiting, and again, like even like the be still and know that I am God. Before these things spring, you know, not one. Think about all the scriptures. Think about all the scriptures that the divine has given us, right? Think about that. You know, does one cancel out the other, or do they all apply? And what I mean by that is, before these things spring up, I shall tell you them, right? 2, be still and know I am God. So, before these things spring up, I shall tell you of them. Imagine getting the accurate, true downloads, intuitive downloads, visions, dreams, synchronicities, messages from the divine, right? But doubting that, gaslighting yourself, or even being susceptible to energy being projected towards your crown, your sacral, you know, your will, your solar, all any of your motherfucking chakras, just your spirit in general. In general. Because if your intuition obviously works for your favor, right? Puts you at an advantage, of course that's what's going to be attacked. Your lack of your clarity, right? Your understanding, your processing. And that's why God gives us faith. That's why God emphasizes faith, because God is aware of the amount of warfare that's going to be casted on your intuition, that's going to be casted on, you know, people trying to obstruct your perception on life and of yourself, and most certainly of God, the existence of God. That's why he gives us faith. That's why he goes into detail, letting us know that he'll even accept faith that is the size of a mustard seed. Even, do you know how small a fucking mustard seed is? Like, that shit is small as fuck. That shit is small as fuck. So it's not a coincidence. Like, clearly there's something very powerful and potent about faith in general. And you know what's crazy? That was my first tattoo. But yeah. Yeah. So in moments of doubt, which leads to fear, triggers anxiety and the unknown. What does the unknown potentially do? Trigger fear, anxiety, worry, especially if you experienced some type of trauma in your past, some type of betrayal, you develop some type of PTSD, whatever. You're more vulnerable to that. So, faith, the size of a mustard seed, can move a mountain. How? Exactly. Your flesh. That's the motherfucking point. Genius. God is a genius. I could cry right now, bro. Cause who the fuck would care about this life for real if God wasn't real, bro? Let's keep it a bean. Who would care? Not I. Not I. Y'all cool and all. Y'all cool. But I'm not. I refuse. No, thank you. Can I go on this other? No, take me. Can I go on this other galaxy, this other universe, this other universe instead, Most High? I'm not trying to be over there where you not. Fuck that. If I'll volunteer to go and do some healing work, but don't send me there if you're not over there. I can't be there. How am I going to exist there if you're not there? I can't even go there. There's no way. It's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible. And so, genius, like the way he artfully articulated this information to us. Man. This is why art can be a blessing or a curse. There's so much coded information you can infuse into an art piece, whether that's through words or visual imagery. Just saying. How you can literally paint images, paint pictures with words. Like, I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying, like, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You know how clearly often that gets abused? Man, be still. We be doing a lot. We be anxious as fuck. We be having little mini spaz moments. And you like, bruh, sit your ass down. Why is you even doing all that? Like, what? All you gotta do is have faith the size of a mustard seed, my nigga. Why is you doing all that? You're stressing your body out, your flesh out, your vehicle. God damn. Like, why? Why? Why is you doing all that? Just chill. Literally. When he said, peace, be still. This man was asleep. Yeshua was asleep, bro. And niggas was wildin'. Niggas was wildin'. Why he trying to sleep, bro? Because of the storm. So at the end of the day, like, fairfully so, like, okay, that's fair. I get it. I understand the frenzy. I get it. But damn, chill out. Like, why would it be ideal to match that energy if you're wanting it to change, hence transmute? If you want the energy to transmute from chaos, you must meet the chaos with calm. And not just And the calm matters too. Let's talk about the calm. Because I feel like the calm could be confused. The calm is not being a bitch. The calm is being confident in God, in your faith in God. The confidence in your calm. So, therefore, having authority, you know, having this, like, this very assured energy, you know. That's the calm. So that's easier said than done, obviously, but hey, but it's been said because it's harder to do type shit. And that's why it needed to be said. It's definitely easier said than done, though, right? And what's crazy though, like when it's done, you know, God gives you immediate proof. Like, yeah, impulse. Yeah. So my Aries South Node and my Libra North Node. So Aries, confrontational energy, passionate energy, can even be associated with impulse, driven, ambition, you know, like whatever. Leap of faith type of energy. Um, so it was clear to me like, okay, impulse, you have to work on impulse. Um, you have to balance your or harmonize your passions, you know, your passionate energy. And because like I had just said recently, like I noticed like how I can be extreme and intense. Like I definitely am aware of that. So I can definitely do that. Um but no, all of it. Before these things spring up, I shall tell you of them. But also be still and know that I'm God, you know, when these things spring up. And also let proof be that I revealed, I told you of these things before it happened. So that's your proof. So the fact that I gave you that proof, I predicted that to you, will you now put some type of trust, you know, and faith in whom gives me the power, the ability, and I the power, I'm the ability, I'm the power, I'm the creator, I'm the omnipresence, I'm the omniscient, I'm all that, I'm that, I'm that. You feel me? You can't, and I'm telling you, you understand how much grace and mercy, you understand how it's nothing to me. It's nothing to me to assist you if I say that only faith the size of a mustard seed is required for me to show up for you in ways that nobody, none of these people can show up for you unless I have something to do with it. For real. Like, you can go to, hey, you can come to me, a massage therapist, and pay me 100 some dollars for me to, you know, you feel me? For me to offer, you know, some spiritual assistance or whatever. Like, you could go to the doctor and pay thousands of dollars. You can go here, you can go to this girl, you can go blah, 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 blah. You can go and pay for this body, pay for this sex, for some type of relief, for blah, 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 dollars. The divine said, just come with faith the size of a mustard seed, bro. I need to put a mustard seed on this thumbnail because I don't think enough people realize how small that shit is. Period. Like these things that was mentioned in parables and in association with Yeshua, like in the divine, like how could you not desire to seek these things out? Of course, I'm going to seek out frankincense and myrrh. Of course, I'm going to seek out the rose of Jericho. Of course. Yeah, how could you not? Like, that's exciting. People got all these idols, these celebrities, screamers, whatever, bro. Athletes. People have all these idols. And I'm like, how can you not feel that way about God? And you know how they flip the shit? Oh, crystals are evil. They're demonic. You're dumb as hell. How is a crystal evil or demonic? And it came from the earth that God created. What? How is it evil and demonic if every association associated with these crystals are spiritual properties or metaphysical properties, proven by the way, that have a positive impact and effect on not only your spirit but your mind and your body? How the fuck is that demonic? And to me, I'd be like wondering, how has there been a cross up in logic and intuition? I don't get it. Like, it's supposed to be interconnected, interrelated. So, to me, stuff that be seeming like, duh, I mean, like, duh, like to others, it seems so complicated. And for the simple fact that they've been told a thing by so many people for so long, they just rule out literal understanding. It's crazy. Even when people talk about evolution and stuff like that, it's like, how is that not associated with God? Make it make sense? How is that not associated with God? Herbs are evil? What? So God created the Garden of Eden before he created all this other shit that y'all motherfuckers use all the time. Like these restaurants and all this shit. God created the Garden of Eden first. 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 I'm just saying. And it's like, no, here's another thing, right? God is the creator. Satanic energy is a thief. Does not create anything. He steals original creative details, modify them to execute them in a manner that is adverse and afflicting to the soul, period. That is literally what God means by someone masquerading themselves as like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Like, let me say this too. It's not even a matter of a wolf being evil or a wolf being associated with satanic energy or demonic energy. The point is, let's say a wolf can be ravenous, especially when he's hungry. The point is the deception that's being identified. When how you feel initially if a sheep approaches you, opposed to if a wolf, a random ass wolf, you don't know shit about this wolf. You know there's some wolves that are good and cool and chill. They're just gonna scope out the scene and dip. And you know some, and you know what's around you, like maybe sheep are around, and you know wolves eat sheep. So he sniff his ass over around you, so you on alert, like, okay, damn. You get what I'm saying? More than likely, he here on some, he trying to eat my sheep and shit. You feel me? Like, if he just show up as is, compared to a wolf cloaked as a sheep, sneaking himself amongst the other sheep to feed off the sheep and get away with it and just do it right up under your nose type shit. Like, what? People who backdoor they homies all the fucking time. That's literally that. So you know, that's another thing. Wolves are very intelligent. They're very intelligent and strategic, right? So yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's like I always describe these scriptures just with this understanding that God gave me. Like, literally, like, when he talks about there will be many false, bro, you have to just pay attention to every word. This is even like a reality, like a reminder to me that you have to pay attention to every word, because it's easy to get away from it, like, especially with music, bro, these toxic ass songs that we like and shit, the lyrics be toxic as fuck, bro, but it's like the flow, the melody, like the way that everything is met and merged together, like, we like that, like, we like that that combination, we like that, we like that beat, like, we like that stuff, but it's like you still have to be disciplined, you have to grow to be disciplined. Because more than likely that shit still affects your reality, you know what I'm saying? Like, every word, bro. There will be not it might not be, it probably will, I mean, it may be, it probably, no, he said there will be many, not some, not a little bit, not that much. There will be many false prophets. There are so many fucking false prophets that there was no point. Like, why? It, listen, it was more critical to say that, to address the false ones, right? Opposed to there won't be as many, like, divine prophets. No, you need to be aware. You need to be aware of how thick this shit is around you for real, bro. And hello, a false prophet is not just a pastor in the fucking church. Think about a prophecy. What is a prophecy? What does it mean to prophesy something? When somebody says, you know, prophesying over someone's life, the spirit of prophecy, the gift of prophecy, right? Prophetic dreams, prophetic visions. That's so Raven. The fuck? Just saying. Meaning, like, there's some forethought. There's some, like, you foresaw something. You had, you know, you saw something before it manifested, before it came into fruition, right? A premonition. A false prophet is people who will also give you some type of false advice, false counsel, false narrative, some type of illusion to persuade you into doing something or not doing something. Um, period. Meaning they're everywhere, not just in churches. False prophets are in the medical field. False prophets are in the holistic field. False prophets are in the spiritual communities, quote unquote. False prophets are in the political community. False prophets are in your family. False prophets are in your friend groups, in some friend groups, were in friend groups you used to be a part of. Period. A false prophet is a liar. A false prophet is a liar. A false prophet is a liar. Somebody who projects, you know, things that go against your predestined path. Okay? Because an accurate prophecy, right? An accurate prophecy is something that is going to manifest, right? It's something that's truthful, it's the truth. So it's like, it's not that you were wrong. You were just early because God told you about these things before it sprung up. hmm And even though God, made this very clear with us, those around us, and we have to think about the energy, the spiritual, um, the spiritual warfare that's going on, literally. People get away with a lot more things in the spirit world, in the spirit realm, than they do in the flesh. So you don't think that's obviously abused? Like, that's just common sense. So just like sororities and fraternities, of course they abuse the spirit realm against, the sorors and the frats. Of course they do. Of course. Especially for y'all understand this, right? Because it's like food. You're food to this principality. You're food. They're feeding it. Every soul that they collect, they're feeding and fueling this principality that they're using, to gain abundance and all this stuff from. Another thing, I always like really appreciated when God, talked about like helping people and but not boasting about it like on some I didn't like I don't know, I felt some type of way about the scripture that says, um bless others in secret and then God will bless you openly. I felt some type of way about that type of culture too, like in the sorority, how we would go, we would do these community things, but it just felt like it was more so about bragging about it or making ourselves look some type of way because we did it, not so much like from a pure place. You know what I'm saying? I used to feel some type of way about that too. And at that time when I felt that way, I thought about that scripture. Like, this shit is not a coincidence. Like, what the hell? It says the word of God is written in our hearts. Like, what? That's crazy. I'm gonna have to do another video. But yeah. And we fall vulnerable in those in between moments before things fully, you know, bloom, manifest, And that's why, man, God is so cool, bro. Like, even how he talks about the fruit, the harvest, and when a tree, when it bears fruit, like, yeah, it's like you have to be still and know the process, know that is the process of those apples growing on that tree. Like, you have to be still, you have to wait, you have to know, like, like, it's gonna unfold in divine timing, like, even though, like, you already got the information. You already foresaw. The divine already revealed to you how this is going to go. Yeah. And then there's other information that God protects as well, like in regards to your blessing and your blessing. So even with that, man, it's so crazy how all this stuff is connected. Like the parable of the talents. Imagine like the parable of the talents kind of being like different amounts of faith. People giving different portions of faith. And the person that just got one mustard seed, you feel me? Like, they doubted it because it was just one mustard seed. But God literally said that mustard seed can move a mountain in the spirit. But he doubted it because other people had multiple mustard seeds. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't about that. That wasn't the point. And that was a part of the test, you know? Do you know what you can do with this one mustard seed? With this one mustard seed, you can surpass all those mustard seeds that they started off with and that they've gathered. Literally. Because even if you didn't gather as much as you thought, or you feel me, that you feel is acceptable in God's sight, oh Lord, my help, my strength, and my redeemer. Just like the parable of the talents, he did what when they came back with what they multiplied, what they did with it. He took from someone else who doubted theirs and gave to the person who believed. Who believed, bro. So God will add to you. And I aspire to have the patience of God. I aspire to have the confidence of God. I aspire to have the humility, to have the knowing, to have the stillness, to have the, like, just the dynamic being and existing as God. Like, I want so much to be, like God, and not in a manner of like Satan wanting to replace God, but I admire God. I admire God. I adore God. I aspire to be like God, to be more like God, you know. To really live these words. And, it's interesting of how, it's said how the words are alive. They're living words. Mm. But, yeah. I'm not gonna definitely expect things coming full circle, for sure. Things that you've already spoken on, things you've already addressed. It doesn't matter if it was recent, a while ago, years ago, but just expect these things to come full circle that God has already revealed to you was going to unfold. Because personally, like, even with some of these, relationships and stuff, these celebrity or these viral relationships and things, some of them, certain deaths, certain judgments, like, like Trump becoming president. There's a lot of things that God has revealed to me, like, early. And there are some things that I've shared, with someone else, with others, and there's some things that I haven't. Even with Malcolm Jamal, like, literally the day that it was announced, a couple hours after it was announced that he drowned, Spirit told me immediately that it wasn't an accident, that was intentional, yeah. So, and I wanted to do a reading about it because there are times I'm guided to, and I'm sure I was guided to at that moment, but I just chose not to. But yeah.